Now, joining us to look at the last 1 year in the education sector is the president of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, Professor Biodun Ogunyemi. Professor Ogunyemi, it's nice to have you on the news at 10.
Thank you, Linda. It's my pleasure to be here.
Now, how would you, evaluate the education sector in the last 1 year under President Muhammadu Buhari?
Yes, education under President Muhammadu Buhari has witnessed a lot of confusion because we cannot actually design clearly what the educational objectives of this government are. And the confusion arises from the fact that we hear change, and to us in ASU, the kind of change that we are seeing are not likely to lead to transformation. When we talk of transformation, we are talking of education that will drive the economy, education that will drive the security, education that will drive the corruption that government, those three pillars that this government emphasizes. For us to have that, we must see a synergy among these areas as spelled out in the Constitution. If you take the Constitution, Chapter 2, under the objectives, fundamental objectives of the state, you find that Section 15 talks about political objectives, Section 16 talks about economic objective, and 17 talks about social objective, and 18 talks about educational objectives. Those objectives, among others, they are interconnected because if you achieve, for us to achieve the economic objectives, you must design your education to address your needs.
And you're not saying this in
We are not saying that, and that is why we believe that for us to achieve true transformation, we must design our education to meet our needs. We have not seen that happening.
Now one of the policies of this administration is the plans to employ 500,000 young graduates as teachers. Would this make any difference in the sector?
We don't believe it will make much difference.
Why?
Our reason is that those teachers are going to teach in primary and secondary schools. Those schools are not controlled by federal government. If schools are not controlled by federal government, we have to go back to see what states are doing with their schools. Now, we have a situation in which some states are trying to privatize public schools. That is within the philosophy of neoliberal philosophy. They want to say, let private sector come and take over our schools, because education is no longer seen as a public good. If you see education as public good, that means that you can drive education to achieve the objectives of the state. But if you don't see education as public good, you will leave your country into private hands. And that will also affect your values, because people will no longer think as part of the society. They will think about what they can make as individuals. So extreme neoliberal philosophy, when you take it into the educational sector, you are going to produce people, citizens who will emphasize individualism. And individualism is not good for any country, particularly ours, that is yearning for development.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor Ogunyemi, for joining us on your
Thank you
News at
very
10.
much. You're welcome.
And that's all from Abuja. Back to you, Amarachi.
Thanks a lot, Linda. The crisis rocking the Kogi State House of Assembly got messier today as members loyal to the factional speaker Umar Imam sat amidst tight security despite judgment of a federal high court which nullified the purported impeachment of the speaker, Momo Jimo Lawal. The members were led into the chamber by the factional speaker, Mr. Imam, were heavily protected by men of the Nigerian army allegedly drafted from the army records in Lokoja, the Kogi state capital.
Members of the pro-Imam Umar faction and the Kogi State House of Assembly are gathered here to deliberate on some issues affecting the state, especially the division in the House. The factional speaker describes the action of the G15 that sat last week as unlawful.
The act so far of our honorable colleagues out there, I cannot describe it. We need to seriously look inwards. This Sixth Assembly has been bedeviled with crisis from the day of inauguration. I wonder if we had actually experienced any peace as a house. I thought that after the semi-reconciliation we had, that would have put to rest the crisis.
Members of the G15 have, however, raised an alarm over alleged assassination attempts on their lives, claiming that their quarters were invaded by some gunmen who fired sporadically for over 30 minutes on Monday night.
Several shells of the bullets shots were picked around this morning as exhibit. We can find them in the plates there. This development attracted a detachment policeman from C Division, Lokoja, to arrive the complex shortly after they had left. We see this as an attempted assassination on the G15 members.
The G15 members, led by Lawal, said they've stayed away from the assembly following the intervention of the Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of Zone 8 and the Commissioner of Police in the state.
In bids to go ahead with our constitutional responsibility, we had contacted both the Commissioner of Police and the AIG, who later advised and instructed that both groups of the assembly should stay away from the assembly complex, and that they will barricade the complex with enough security to disallow any group from entry.
It appears the end to the crisis in the Kogi State House of Assembly is not yet in sight, as the factions continue to drift apart.
Except they do the needful.
Here to take us through the world of business news is Melinda Akilami.
Thank you so much, Amarachi. Welcome to Business News. Latest data released by the Central Bank of Nigeria shows the country's foreign exchange reserves has fallen by 2.8% to $26.5 billion. The reserves have so far dropped to 10.9% from last year, when they were at $29.7 billion. A plunge in oil prices has eaten into Africa's biggest economy, forcing the CBN to introduce currency controls, which has frustrated businesses and caused the economy to contract. For now, money market traders are keeping their eyes on the Apex Bank, anxiously waiting to hear the latest forex guidelines. Kwara State government has denied a newspaper report that it has abandoned plans to secure a 10 billion naira bond for infrastructure projects. In a statement signed by the Senior Special Assistant on Media, Governor Abdul Fattah Ahmed explains that the plans to secure a bond is still on course as captured in its 2016 budget, and government has only reduced the proposed bond from 20 billion naira to 10 billion naira. He emphasized that ongoing projects in the state will be funded under a different window. Jais Bank PLC has declared a profit of 794 million naira in the 2015 financial year. The chairman of the bank, Alhaji Umar Abdul Muttalab, told shareholders at the annual general meeting in Abuja that the bank intends to raise the bar in the coming year.
There was barely a space left on field as shareholders gathered for the annual general meeting of Jais Bank PLC to get an update on the bank's financial standing for the 2015 financial year ending. The secretary of the bank brought the first set of good news as she declared a 10 billion naira increase in the authorized share capital of the bank.
The recommendation of the directors and in accordance with the Articles of Association of the bank, the authorized share capital of the bank be and is hereby increased from 15 billion naira to 25 billion naira by the creation and addition thereto of 10 billion ordinary shares of 1 naira each.
With 18% increase in total assets closing at 52.6 billion naira, 47% finance income at 23.8 billion, and a customer deposit base of 38.7 billion naira, shareholders look forward to the future of the bank.
Very solid bank, very, very solid board. So I commend all the directors. You have done very well.
We are very happy to see that our retained earnings has increased tremendously. Even the shareholders fund to increase tremendously. Please, gentlemen, please give them a round of applause.
The chief executive officer of the bank says it took over 2 years to break even before this success story, which they plan to build upon. A plan the chairman of the bank believes is achievable through close-knitted collaboration.
It's going to be a task that we have to all put our heads together, the management directors, so that we will not only try to achieve but even to surpass this before the year ends.
We broke even in 2014, coming back from a position of 1.7 billion loss position to break even and to even a marginal profit of 126 million. That is even more of a miracle than even what we achieved in 2015.
The non-interest bank's new slogan, "For a Better Life," is set on its objective to add value to the generality of humanity by touching lives in a positive way. With the rights issue oversubscribed by shareholders, the future of non-interest banking in Nigeria, with Jaiz Bank taking the lead, is set for the heights.
The Nigerian stock market ends the month of May with a massive sell-off as traders resume today. Harriet Agbein has the details.
Heavy profit-taking of bank heavyweights on the last trading day of the month of May erased the gains seen over the past 5 weeks as investors hit panic mode on forex policy. About 426 billion naira was today shaved off the market. Market capitalization dropped to 9.50 trillion naira, with the all-share index off by a whopping 4.26% to end the session at 27,671.08. 335.05 million shares, valued at 3.14 billion naira, were exchanged by investors in 4,301 deals. Fidelity Bank, FBN Holdings, and Axis Bank were the most actively traded. Market breadth came in negative with 41 losers versus 9 gainers. Top loser with 9.65% off is Zenith Bank. It's followed by ETI and FBN Holdings. On the other hand, Trans-Nationwide Express led 8 other gainers for the day. Those are the day's trading figures. I'm Harriet Agbein.